been given access to receive messages of clarity, guidance, and love. As channeler, psychotherapist, and author, Noemi Grace has an intimate dialogue with the divine on your behalf. Lisa Berry, creator of the show Light on Living, will be co-hosting as live callers ask their burning question on self-love, self-healing, deepening relationships, areas of struggle, and next steps. By simply listening in, you're receiving wisdom that will lead to sacred stability from every channeled message that Noemi delivers. Join us now as we give you access to angels and grace. Good day, everyone. Hello, and welcome to Access to Angels and Grace. I'm one of your hosts, Lisa Berry.
And I'm Noemi Grace. And welcome.
Oh, Noemi, it's not even fun. What an important topic we've chosen today. You are, and I think are both very excited to talk to the divine about this one because I'm going to say the B word. It's all about boundaries.
Boundaries are a beautiful thing. Think about you move into a new house. Maybe you have animals. Mm-hmm. You might, or maybe you don't want animals in your yard. You might install a fence. Maybe you want to keep the neighbors out. Maybe you want to have the privacy of sunbathing out in the yard. You install that fence, which is a boundary to keep whatever you want in your space and to sort of keep the other things outside of your space so they can knock on the door or something, or they can look over the fence.
They could be welcomed.
They can be welcomed, but they can inquire as to coming in, right? So they can say, hey, can I come sit with you outside? Rather than just, especially if you have wild animals or not so wild animals out there. We have deer and turkeys, and they'll just come and nibble on anything that's available, and rabbits, So if you put that boundary up, you have that safety and that protection of what's important. Your garden, you used a beautiful metaphor of the garden in your description of this beautiful show that we're having now. And so you keep your garden safe and you keep it protected from munching. So.
Munching, yes.
Munching.
And I love the title. Lunching and munching. That's a great name for something. We titled this How Boundaries Help Us to Protect the Abundant Garden Within. And God, I just love that we came up with that line because I was thinking about a baby gate there for a second. And that's the first thing, in life when we're born, our moms and dads put up, and babysitters and all that kind of put up baby gates to keep their precious child safe from harm, but also from others. Maybe there is a dog in the house and they they want some separation, and boundaries can actually be really good. And this is, oh my gosh, I'm going to start this off. You were going to do a reading from one of the chapters, but I want to let the listeners know that the reason why, oh my gosh, I hope everybody hears this, is because we're going to go through how to identify how do we know when we do need to set healthy boundaries? How do we know when we've crossed over them? How do we maintain them? How do we, everything you could imagine about boundaries is being revealed today.
Oh my goodness. I love
know. These. Tall order.
Your intentions are so lovely. And the divine is chuckling. I can hear it now. And so, this topic for me is very present because I did a course for Inspired Living University, which is going to launch tomorrow, about how to thrive as an empath. 4 sacred practices for thriving as an empath. And so that course has a lot to do with our energy boundaries. We have energy all around our body, our physical body. We have our energy body. And if people come in and stand too close, it can feel very intrusive. If we're not hugging them, but if they're just someone that we're not that close with comes in and stands too close, it can feel intrusive because they're within our energy boundary. And so that really for me started to cause me to think a lot about the boundaries. And I love this topic. It's so important. It's one thing that we can control. So much about life we can't control, but we can put the fence up. You buy that new house, you can put the fence up. You can control that. Doesn't mean that the very clever animal won't find their way in, but it's gonna ward off most of them, So if your neighbor's have a giraffe, the fence isn't going to do anything.
Yes, and the world just always does come at you. I mean, that's why we set those boundaries, is that we can recognize what we get choice, and we get to choose what do I want and what do I don't, and those things. I think it comes to just a fun piggyback on our trust show, because really boundaries and trust have the super interplay. But I'm so excited to hear the paragraph you've chosen.
I mean, because boundaries, they increase the trust. If you have no boundaries, and oftentimes as a psychotherapist and soul healer, I'll see the people that have no boundaries are the ones that trust blindly. They don't think they need boundaries because they're trusting everybody. And that's not everybody is worthy to be trusted by you in this moment, So So trust needs to be earned. And so the thing about boundaries is we have a choice. And that's another one of my lovely favorite topics. We can choose where to set the boundaries, how strong to set them. Are they going to be like really strong boundaries? Sometimes with some people, we might have a little flexibility in the boundary, but, and not be rigid with it. Sometimes we want to be fairly rigid, that strong wooden fence, or the one that's made out of pressure treated wood substitute that's even stronger. Those things, those things will withstand the wind, whereas the flexible one may not. So I'm going to read parts of a message in my book on page 51. It's called Honor Yourself in Your Choices. And this is in the chapter on loving yourself first. And so this is something that we have the power of choice, and do we honor ourselves with that? So, let's see. Okay. Unconditional love and acceptance can free you to make different choices than you did in the past. Love yourself enough to honor yourself by your choices. When you love yourself unconditionally, you don't betray or abandon yourself through non-loving choices, and you are not willing to choose what dishonors you or others. Will you love yourself enough to free yourself by choosing differently? To love yourself unconditionally is also to honor yourself by choosing what takes you deeper into self-love and acceptance. It is to step into your power and exercise that power in making choices that honor you. Honor yourself daily for the remarkable being you are. This takes you deeper down the path towards loving yourself with divine unconditional love as we do. This is to live in beauty. We honor you for your choice to be with us. Now honor yourself in how you live your life. And that's a passage from my book, An Intimate Dialogue with God, The Miraculous Power of Unconditional Self-Love. And it's so vitally important that our choices honor us. And a lot of times we will honor someone else, or we will honor not rocking the boat, or not sticking out, or just allowing, not making things more challenging, instead of honoring ourselves and choosing what is best for us. And so boundaries are a way that we choose what's best for us. And we get to dictate those boundaries.
Yes, and the word honor, that really jumped out at me, of course, when you wrote that. I was like, oh, that's a big one, because, and now the word, and now I hear it, the opposite I'm going to go with is betray. Like, so when we allow those boundaries, like you said, I love that you mentioned, yes, we can be flexible. Sometimes we are flexible with others. And I know that I'm flexible with my boundaries with those who I trust, because I know that they had the intention and something maybe just didn't work out, and then situations happen. However, I remember just recently in the last few months, I was very upset with somebody, and I literally said, you have betrayed my trust. And because it was a boundary was crossed, and I felt so hurt, and I wondered, how did I let this happen? Of course, somehow I did, but how? So when you're in that situation, I don't know if you've experienced this, Noemi, but that was my big one, because that word, I've never said that in my life, and I remember saying that you betrayed me. I felt just awful. Like, it probably wasn't even that bad, but I was just like, I can't believe that you did that, is what I was saying. But really, was it my fault? Like, how? Yeah, what is
Well,
one
so-
going through?
Yeah, so blaming oneself, it's, in my book, The Divine talks a lot, because it's a channeled book from the Divine about all of this self-judgment and self-blame and all of that. There is nothing useful to be gained by that. Is this my fault? You can say law of attraction says something contributed to that in some way, but it's there for you to learn. And so you learned something. They betrayed your trust. You learned that you don't need to be their friend anymore. You don't need to be in any kind of relationship with them anymore. And so the fence, the boundary doesn't mean that someone won't betray your trust, right? You put that boundary up, and the neighbor hires a bulldozer. The neighbor is getting a bulldozer. They're gonna knock it down, right? So it doesn't mean. But the boundary is a clear demarcation of like, this is where I end. And where the rest of the world begins. And it's also, this is what's okay for me, and this is what's not okay. And so if the neighbor gets the bulldozer and knocks down the fence, well, that's not somebody you can trust. And so boundaries also are a great way for us to discover, is someone trustworthy? And there's been such a theme of trustworthy in multiple of our shows. But is someone trustworthy? Because if you can set that clear boundary, that gives you a lot of information. Is the person going to respect that? If they're going to push, if you say no and they're going to go, oh, come on, you're no fun, why not? And
they start insulting and critiquing.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Or pushing. Kind of trying to push at the boundary. Maybe it's not strong push, but it's that disrespecting of the boundary. Like, I don't like this boundary. I'm going to try to convince you to take down the boundary because I'm going to hound you until you do.
Like a little kid try to wears their mom down. Come on, Mom, come on. And they just keep going. Because we're all kind of being our selfish and self-centered way. Like, wait, no, I don't like your boundary. Your boundary doesn't work for me. I'm sorry, but I'm going to keep pushing. And so we hope that we can align with people and attract people that respect, go, wow, you have these boundaries. And maybe they're not my boundaries, but they're yours. And that's the kind of life I believe that's how we protect our inner garden, our life force, when we surround ourselves by those who, I don't want to be around a lot of pushers. No, not for me.
And so that's really, it's helpful to set the boundary. Without the boundary, you can assume somebody's trustworthy, but when you put the fence up, they're trying to push it down, or they're just climbing over the fence, or I've got the squirrel outside. I wonder who's climbing over. So they're just climbing over. They're ignoring it. It's a little inconvenient for them because now they have to climb over, but they are not respecting that. And so self-respect comes from setting that boundary. Partially comes from setting the boundary and seeing those that just disrespect the boundary and saying no, thank you.
Actually, you know what? That's actually a great word to come back to. I know we have to sneak away to commercial, but respect. That gets used a lot. You don't respect me, or you have to respect me, or I don't have self-respect. Can we unwrap that word a little bit and ask some questions around that to really help us build that up when we come back?
Sure. Maybe the relationship between respect and boundaries.
Yes, I love it. Respecting boundaries. When we're back on Access to Angels and Grace.
OMTimes magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment. A philanthropic organization, their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The universe is eager to help you and give you clarity. You only need to be willing to ask your burning question and listen to the answer Source wants you to have. As a channeler of divine messages, I take your questions directly to the divine and hear what Source is longing to tell you. I'm Noemi Grace, and my co-host Lisa Berry and I welcome you to join us as a listener or caller on Access to Angels and Grace, 2 Wednesdays a month. Call in, ask your most burning questions, hear the divine's exact words giving you guidance and clarity. Access to Angels and Grace, where messages of joy await you.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience and all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Good, we're back, because this is a hot topic. We are talking about boundaries here on Access to Angels and Grace. And Noemi, I always love this part because as a psychotherapist, you're able to help like with your own experience and knowledge, as well as go in and then ask the Source what wonderful messages they can share with us.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to be able to do that. And so I like that... there's that song, I was trying to look up who sang it a long time ago, one of the Motown classics, R-E-S-P-C-T, that's what your love means to me. I don't know if it was Aretha or Tina, but it's sort of like that's what my love means to me, R-E-S-P-C-T. I mean, if I love myself, I'm going to respect myself, and I'm going to respect myself enough to set the boundaries. And so,
right.
There's the boundaries. So do I respect myself enough to set the boundary? And what happens to the other side? Who's on the other side of that boundary? What do they do? Do they respect that boundary? So we can ask about respect and boundaries. Anything else you want to bring up?
I think why is it so? Okay, let me just get clear on my question because there's a lot. It's only because it's come up so much, and even I had people share with. Yes, here's an interesting question. Sometimes we'll judge others. We'll look at others and say, "You need to set some boundaries." That thought has gone through our head. We've witnessed something, and so we're sharing that with somebody out of love, and we're saying, "Wow, you should really set some boundaries." When we're saying that, so all the listeners right now, if you've seen this and want to say that to somebody, or you've heard it yourself from another, I guess we're witnessing a force, a diminishing of being at choice point, or we're witnessing a diminishing of joy because we're going against what we really want, or we're just being walked over.
All right, let's just see what the divine has to say about this.
All right.
Let's just dive in. I'm eager to dive in.
All right, let's dive.
Okay, so in case anyone was listening for the first time, I take a few seconds to deepen that connection with the divine, and then a few more seconds I greet them, I say hello, and then the transition happens in a couple seconds after that, and they start talking. Hello, divine. We're here with one of our favorite subjects, but eager to hear what you have to say. We have acquired in your energy space. Be clear about who you let in. Obviously, if you're in a crowded train in some of the great cities, you are going to let a lot of people in. But then it's good to have some practices to really tighten up your boundaries. And there are so many out there, and Noemi Grace teaches some, to really keep your boundaries close to you. But in general, you want to know, where is your energy space? How big is it? Who are you going to let in? And again, there's so many other teachers as well that will teach about this energy space and energy boundaries. Very important topic, because your energy is your life force, and your energy can get dirty and even corrupted if you are in a place of other dirty or corrupted energy, if that energy gets and intermingles with yours. And so a practice to set your energy boundary every day is really helpful. And then to go throughout the day being aware of your energy. You are energy. You are not body only. You are energy. You are a life force. Be aware of your life force. Is it vibrant? Is it alive? Is it refreshed? Or is it dimming as the day goes on? And so learning to build that life force up. We love this metaphor of the abundant garden within. Are your flowers drooping by the end of the day? Do they need water? Do they need nutrition? Do they need love? And love is really an important thing when it comes to boundaries. If you love yourself, you will recognize the importance of boundaries. If you do not set boundaries, we say to you, ask yourself, what if I loved myself more? What kind of boundaries would I set? Because boundaries are an expression of love to yourself. They are a gift you give to yourself, and they help others to understand where you stand and what is yours and what is not. And so your energy is yours. It's so important to keep that with you and to keep that clean and clear. And so on a very basic level, starting with that outer level of protection for your energy. It's a great daily practice. And yes, Noemi Grace teaches it, but so do many others. We are not only pro Noemi Grace. She is a mouthpiece for us, but there are so many wonderful teachers that are teaching this, and it's important to have that. And we also want to tell you about emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, and of course the physical boundary. The physical boundary, who touches you? Who are you okay to touch? If a stranger touches you and you feel very uncomfortable, that's a boundary where you say, no, don't touch me. Either you may say it verbally or you may move away. The more that you respect yourself, the more you will honor that you're uncomfortable, rather than going, well, I'm sure they didn't mean any malice in that touch, or I'm sure it was not even them thinking consciously. You can address the discomfort by setting a boundary, either verbally or by stepping back and pulling your energy field with you. And so this boundary of your physical space is really important as well. Sometimes people are a little bit loose with their physical space and they enter yours. Know what feels comfortable and what doesn't. What nourishes you and nurtures you and strengthens you, because boundaries strengthen you, and what doesn't. No one is disrespectful to me. Please don't speak to me that way. And so learning to set those boundaries is an act of respect for yourself. It's an act of honoring yourself. How much do you respect yourself? Answer that question honestly. How can you respect yourself more than however you do now? One way is to set those clear boundaries. Really allow those boundaries. Choose them. Don't let disrespect will be clear, and you can speak up and say no. And other people may be coming into your energy space, into your physical space without realizing it. And if you set those clear boundaries, now they understand where they are. And then you will get more respect by people that are not malicious, but are not aware of where your boundaries are because you haven't set them. Boundaries are an act of love. We will leave you with that. Respect. It is. Love is, we do like that that song that Noemi Grace likes of respect is what my love means to me. Respect. Are grateful for you listening to this message. Namaste.
Oh, thank you. There's always so much love in them.
Oh, yeah. And they never know where they're going. I didn't expect all of those boundaries to come up.
I know. But, I'm glad that that Divine decided to say about even self-talk. And, there's some major hits there for me. One of them is, we often make the statement, all you need is love. Right now I've got songs going in my head, but I love the question that comes up is, do you need love? Oh gosh, that was such a big one for me, because if you were needing love, that might mean that you have not set boundaries, because right now you're not getting or receiving this love. You're receiving maybe statements that aren't loving. And then, here's my example. Sorry, Noemi, I've got to get my brain organized there. Say I was having negative self-talk, right? And I was saying, gosh, you're not good enough, or you've got this wrong, or this going on, and I'm not very nice to myself. Well, in crossing the boundaries, I'm not respecting myself. I'm not offering myself love. So at that time, the answer would be, do I need love? Yes, I'm needing love, because I'm being mean to myself right now, and I'm not honoring. I'm betraying myself. And so that's such a good question. I was going to ask, because they mentioned about having a daily practice of cleaning and clearing. Well, would that maybe be one awesome daily practice to ask yourself every morning? Is right now, do I need love? Am I low on it right now?
Well, of course, as we know, but don't always ask for and don't always connect with. So,
yes,
gratitude always brings me back to love. It shifts me out of that negative self-talk. In the morning, I've learned that practice of thank you, get out of bed, hands in prayer, thank you, because when I'm in bed, I'm just, sometimes my whole to-do list is going in my head. And just gratitude, gratitude.
Energy field.
Yes, it is in that course that's going to launch tomorrow. So.
Well, there's validation for you. That was a super hit.
I love that. And we're not just talking about Noemi Grace. There's plenty of great teachers out there, which I appreciate, because there are. I learned so much from so many people. And of course, now I'm learning from the divine, which is such a gift.
Yes. Well, you know what? I have a statement that I'd love to share that I started living by. I'm back in when I started my original program, Dating Your Diet, because I was a nutritionist. I came up with this, and I'll leave you guys with this before we go to commercial. But
OMTimes Magazine is one of the leading online content providers of positivity, wellness, and personal empowerment, a philanthropic organization. Their net proceeds are funneled to support worldwide charity initiatives via Humanity Healing International. Through their commitment to creating community and providing conscious content, they aspire to uplift humanity on a global scale. OMTimes, co-creating a more conscious lifestyle.
The universe is eager to help you and give you clarity. You only need to be willing to ask your burning question and listen to the answer Source wants you to have. As a channeler of divine messages, I take your questions directly to the divine and hear what Source is longing to tell you. I'm Noemi Grace, and my co-host Lisa Berry and I welcome you to join us as a listener or caller on Access to Angels and Grace, 2 Wednesdays a month. Call in, ask your most burning questions, hear the divine's exact words giving you guidance and clarity. Access to Angels and Grace, where messages of joy await you.
Looking for inspiration?
Want to be inspired?
Not sure where to go?
Find Mark and Kim every Wednesdays at 3 p.m. Eastern on Inspired Living.
Topics will elevate consciousness and range from metaphysics to the human and social experience in all things spiritual.
Welcome to an inspired community that offers support, encouragement, and new ways of thinking. You are the inspired and the inspiration.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. You're joining us here at Access to Angels and Grace, and Lisa Bear here talking to Noemi Grace, and really wanting, we are talking about the boundaries, but one thing I want to talk about, which my favorite word is access. So I have a question for, let's see, if it's going to be Noemi, I think Noemi might want to tap into the source to ask this one. It's about access and how in alignment with our highest self. Okay, what if we are not in alignment with our highest self, and then we give access away to somebody else? How important is it for when giving access and accepting access that we are in alignment with our highest self?
So you're talking about access to the boundaries, like access being okay. You can come in.
Key.
You can come in the gate.
Yeah, permission. Yeah, permission. Yeah,
permission. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Let's say, I have my ideas, but let's just go in.
And I only ask this. I'll ask this just because a lot of times if we're wobbly, if we really are unsure and we wake up and we're like, gosh, I just don't know what to do, or I'm coming from a negative space, like I don't trust anyone, or gosh, everybody hurts me, so I'm not going to trust anybody. That's the kind of out of alignment to our higher self that I'm talking about. So how do we, if we're in that place, how do we get to a place? I think we're going to go from there. But those are the states.
Yeah. So you heard all that, Divine, and really, I don't think I could paraphrase it, so we'll just leave it there. And for me also, it's how do we help people to start to strengthen those boundaries? You gave an example, Lisa, of somebody that's maybe setting the boundaries so that nobody comes in, which is the opposite of what we were talking about earlier, where somebody has no boundaries, and this person's got the boundaries, and they've got castle walls around there and a moat and everything around their heart. So let's see what the Divine has to say. This is a good question because it brings up the other side. You humans, we love you so much, and yet you can tend to be in one extreme direction or the other. Too trusting, unbounded, no boundaries needed. Everyone's a good person. And yes, at the essence, everyone is a good person, but they may not be living that life. They may be living in separation from the essence of who they are, from their true self. And then we have the I don't trust anyone kind of boundary that you humans do, where it's put the wall up, don't let anyone in, 12 feet thick. And it's all of those are extreme, and there's no joy in either stance. In the over-trusting, there may start out with some joy, but your garden gets trodden on, and the animals have munched your flowers, and your corn, and your produce, and you look there and you experience yourself partially behind that wall. And oftentimes when you humans, you construct that wall, you keep us out too. Not that you can keep us out because we are everywhere at all times, but you keep your interest in us, keep your connection There is no connection coming from you to us. There is always connection coming from us to you. And so those who put the boundaries so strong, we have so much compassion for both. And ask us to help you. Ask us to point it out. And start to really notice what it feels like for you if you let someone in. And as Lisa said, they betray the trust. How does that feel? What about someone else that you let in that didn't betray the trust, that didn't in any way take that advantage of you? How does that feel? Notice the difference in feeling. Your body, your feelings have so much rich information for you. It's so important that you be able to access that information. Yes, Lisa, we're thinking of you. Access that information. It is so vitally important, but start to ask for our help. Our help first. Second, start to access the information, the unbounded person. Start to look at, is this person trustworthy? Do not become a skeptic so that you trust no one, but recognize that you may be hurting yourself by letting everyone in, having no boundaries. Boundaries are necessary. You are in separate bodies. You are in separate energy fields. Those are clear indications that the boundaries are necessary in your world. So to start to go, either to allow more with our help, or to start to put the boundaries, recognize who is the most trustworthy person in your life. Let that person be close. Who are you uncertain about? Put some boundaries. Start to say no. No is a beautiful word that is not always spoken. Yes is a beautiful word too, but always yes and never no is not balanced. And boundaries help you to find the balance of what is true for you and what is not true for you. It may be true for the next person, and it's okay. It's not a judgment, but it is not true for you. And so understanding that it is healthy and it is self-loving. It is not selfish, but there is a good aspect of selfish, and we put good in quotes. There is a healthy aspect of selfish, which is I am self-interested. I am self-concerned. I take care of myself. I don't allow myself to be abused or betrayed. People may betray, but then you speak up. And so that garden, we love that metaphor, is within all of you. But if you've got that wall up so high, even the sun has a hard time getting in, allow yourself, step by step, little by little, to take the wall down in the appropriate places. And trust us if you can't trust yourself. Boundaries are a form of self-respect. Where can you respect yourself a little more? Learn to say no where it is appropriate. It is not always appropriate to say yes. The yes man or woman is sacrificing themselves. Stop self-sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself when you have no boundaries. And if you have too many boundaries, you sacrifice yourself too, because you do not experience yourself. Yourself is so walled off, and you don't share yourself. And the greatest joys can be found interrelationally, in your relationship with others who are loving and kind and respectful, and of course in your relationship with us. Learn to trust that. Learn to be willing to take the steps to strengthen those boundaries. Think about the abundant garden within. Learn it. Recognize it. Get to know the garden. Walk in that garden. If you owned a garden, would you keep it locked behind the wall like that secret garden movie of long ago? Or would you walk within and explore it and say, oh, look at these beautiful flowers. Oh, wow, look at this fruit and vegetables, so wonderful. You would walk and take time to experience the beautiful garden within you. And the best way really is in meditation. And if you feel that you can't do that, then start reading an uplifting book, whichever book speaks to you. There are so many books of upliftment out there, and so many different people on your planet. Some may be resonating very strongly with one and not so strongly with the next. And that's perfectly wonderful, that diversity. Find a book that resonates with you. Read that. Listen to a guided meditation. Watch a video that is uplifting. Start to nurture that garden and get to know that garden. And the more that you know that garden and you see the beauty there and you enjoy the beauty there, it will be easier for you to put the boundaries. You will want to put the boundaries. You will not want all the animals to get in and eat your flowers and eat your produce. You will want to protect it in a loving way, not in a way of keeping everything out, but of keeping out what needs to be out and letting in what is best for you. Boundaries are a beautiful thing. We encourage all of you to start to develop healthier boundaries. It will lead to greater happiness. We are complete. Namaste.
Always so beautiful, so helpful. I think I'm going to trust Source. All right.
Source is always there for us.
Yes, I love that they make the invitation.
Every time. Every single time, I think they make the invitation in almost every channeled message. And
a huge takeaway for me there was self-interested and not self-sacrificing. That to me, if somebody is listening right now and they're like, I can't get to self-love. It's too far right now for me. But you know what? I think that would be a great place they might be able to start. Well, maybe I'm not at self-love, but I could be self-interested. Let me explore. Let me learn about this. Learn where the beauty is, and accept a little bit at a time. And then, like what Source just said, when you see the beauty, you will want to set boundaries. You will want to protect, and then invite those in that are in alignment. I thought that was so beautiful. I love it so much. Thank you, Noemi.
That metaphor that you channeled, that was great. It was beautiful at the end of wow, get to know the beautiful essence inside of you and really nourish and nurture that. And then you'll want to set boundaries. If you're with somebody and every time you're with them, you feel really awful afterwards, your flowers are wilting. Start setting that boundary.
I like that one. And actually, this was a great time to do this in our final minute, because you'd mentioned about, if start guided meditation or find a book, because, sometimes we need to hear other words. We need to read other words from others who are already there that we can use as mentors or guides. And I love the get a book. And you happen to have a lovely book that I would love everybody to come hear where they can get that book from you, because your book certainly offers their messages that are channeled from the divine. That's a great place to start.
Yes, exactly. And they're all the messages are 1 or 2 pages, so it's great reading for the morning or right before bed. And I am so blessed to be able to have written this book, which is Channeled from the Divine, an intimate dialogue with God, The Miraculous Power of Unconditional Self-Love, and it is on Amazon and in physical form, and of course Kindle as well, ebook. So and of course we often mention this, that we have a special for any listeners to receive a channeled message on noemigrace.com/access.
Yes.
So it's NOEMIGRACE.com/access for our Access to Angels and Grace show, which is so beautiful. And
Noemi, and I have to say, I just love that you just talked about, you said miraculous, and I want to share with everybody, as the listener on the other end here and being able to have access to ask Noemi these questions self-interestedly here on my part,
absolutely,
that you always help me, and your messages always help me. I've gained so much insight for my person very much, and everybody, I super invite you to get your own messages from Noemi. This is life-changing. So go blossom into the energetic being you were meant to be. Thank you so much, Noemi.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a beautiful day, everyone. A blossoming day.
A blossoming day. Oh, I'm so using that. Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.